meet in order to meet today's workspace cultural demand. When you work in a multicultural and in some cases multinational environment, the way people interact is very different. You can give a thumbs up to somebody, but in the other person's culture, language, and social perception, that thumbs up may actually be an insult. So, learning how to accommodate other people's way of life and work together as a team to produce organizational goals is one key thing that is very important. And that is why we are bringing this kind of conversation to us as technical people within the SPE worldview, so that as we are going about our daily activities in our workspace, we know how to comport ourselves, how to engage other people, especially the people we refer to as the difficult people, or the people we refer to as the laissez-faire people who care less about the important things in the workspace. But as a team, we are able to be a team player and contribute actively. So just pay attention, ask your questions, and I'm sure our facilitators will guide every one of us so that at the end of the day, we will learn something that we can take back into our workspace. So thank you all, and for all the team that put this together, thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniel, for opening up today's session. The discussion promises to be a very exciting and insightful one. Pay attention, as Daniel said, and stay with us from the beginning all through to the end. And I'm very certain by the end of the discussion, we would all leave here being emotional masters in our various workspaces. All right. So we are pleased, honored, and blessed to have with us three prominent panelists to take us through today's discussion. The first is Dr. Confidence Home. He is an HR professional with over a decade of experience in succession planning, training and development performance, employee management, and talent management. He also holds a PhD in applied industrial organizational psychology from Zhejiang University, an MPhil in organizational psychology from the University of Ghana, and a BSc in psychology from the University of Cape Coast. His expertise blends strong academic grounding with practical HR and lecturing experience, enabling him to enhance employee behavior and organizational effectiveness. Dr. Home has consulted and facilitated training for organizations across Ghana, China, Burundi, and Rwanda, including Glyco Group, CIEE Shanghai, Belshaw Limited, PI Group, and others. He currently serves as the Human Resource Manager at Zen Petroleum Limited, while volunteering as an adjunct lecturer at the University of Cape Coast and a trainer with the Ghana Employers Association. So we are blessed to have you here, Mr. Home. Kindly, Dr. Home, kindly give us a brief introductory remark in under 3 minutes. The floor is yours, please.
Okay, thank you so much. I hope I can be heard, and I'm glad to be with the team this afternoon to discuss all these this important topic. I think it is now more than ever. This topic is very relevant to us in our growth, especially considering young professionals as we are in our quest to want to develop in our various areas. Emotional intelligence is one thing that we cannot run away from. It is that which will make us stand out in this time that we find ourselves. So I'm very glad to be with the team to learn from all the rest of the panelists and panel members, and also the entire participants, to also learn from everyone as we all share ideas. So thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you for accepting our invitation, Dr. Omi. The second panelist we are blessed with today is Mrs. Anbetha Ajati. She is a detail-oriented professional with over a decade of experience in business administration and managing small teams and startups. She has a strong track record of driving customer satisfaction in both the financial and educational sectors. She is highly experienced in event management, having led major events such as Corporate Walk for Life, Camp Experience, anniversary celebration, and conferences. She is a certified senior professional in human resources. She currently serves as the admin and training manager at the HR Certification Center, where she contributes to the organizational growth and excellence. Mrs. Ajati, please, we are pleased to have you with us this afternoon. Kindly give us a brief introductory remark in the next 3 minutes. Thank you.
Hi, Awa, and all our participants on the call, and thank you for having me here. As Dr. Homi has already mentioned, we are here to also learn from you and to also share a bit or experience on emotional intelligence. It's gradually becoming a necessity for everybody, and we all need to be intentional about it to enhance good collaborations in our organization. So thank you for having me. I'm sure we'd have an interactive one.
Thank you, Ms. Ajati. Last but not the least, we have with us Dr. Isaac Newman Arthur. He's a senior medical officer and clinical psychologist with over 14 years of clinical experience. He serves as a director of the Medical Directorate at the University of Professional Studies, Accra, and is the Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Psychological Association. He lectures part-time at the Family Health Medical Universities, Central University, and Daniel Institute, and serves on several boards of tertiary institutions and NGOs. He provides consultancy services to multiple health facilities and insurance companies, and is the author of 5 books on mental health, personal development, relationships, and student life. Beyond clinical practice, he's a skilled creative carpenter, a graphic designer with over 20 years of experience, and has been a speaker and life coach for 23 years across Ghana and abroad. He also has a strong media presence, hosting the Beautiful Minds mental health radio show on Asasi Radio, and previously hosting a mental health TV program on Ocean One TV. Dr. Newman Arthur, it's a pleasure to have you around.
Thank you very much. I want to say thank you for the opportunity to come and share with you some few words on, I think, the important topic. And I think that around this season, everybody's talking about mental health, workplace, work-life balance, and things like that. And organizations have started developing a policy on mental health. So I think this discussion this afternoon is great, and I'll be glad to share some few words and learn more. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Newman. We are excited to have you all here with us today. And we know that at the end of this discussion, we are all going to be emotionally intelligent and will take the news to our workplace and educate the others that aren't here. Okay, so let's get right into it. We'll start with a foundation.
Abba, why are we to see your face?
Unfortunately, my camera, it doesn't look so good. If you don't mind, I can still turn it on.
Because I think it makes the discussion better. It feels
Okay.
alone or lonely. Yeah, well, okay.
All right.
Oh, sorry, forgive me, I'm like that.
And please, can you see me?
We can't see you, don't worry. Okay.
Okay. So thank you all once again. We'll begin by understanding the foundation. So, why does emotional intelligence matter in the modern workplace? We'll have a brief, it'll be great to have you all give us answers to this foundation shortly, starting from Dr. Homing. Why, in your opinion, do you think that emotional intelligence matters in the modern workspace?
Okay. Thank you. I think emotional intelligence, first of all, I wish we establish what emotional intelligence actually is. Then I'll just proceed to look at why we are saying it matters, and for that matter, having this discussion today. I think broadly, most people have misunderstood what emotional intelligence is to just mean um, just about the emotions that one goes through, just letting out freely the emotions that you go through, not holding back. There have been so many myths and misconceptions about it. But emotional intelligence basically is our ability to be able to recognize and understand our own emotions. Okay, be aware of those emotions as and when they are happening, and also be aware of other people's emotions. Okay, so our ability to recognize and understand our emotions, using this awareness to manage also ourselves and also the relationship that we have with other people. And so we see that it first of all starts from we ourselves, you as an individual, your ability to recognize your emotions, the triggers of your emotions as and when they are happening, the behavioral consequence that comes out of the various emotions that you experience, and how you manage those emotions, and how it affects other people as well. And having this in mind, I think emotional intelligence has become very important because we've realized that organizations, that we have a very dynamic work environment in these times, where organizations emphasize more on teams. So they are placing more emphasis on people working together to be able to achieve organizational objectives, and considering people would have to work together in teams and various groups. No one is an island. You would have to deal with other people who are coming from different backgrounds, and you all have to work together to achieve one objective. Means that you need to be able to understand the things that you do that the others in the group might not be enthused about, and also to be able to understand the others in the group, their various reactions. Okay, so you can be able to exist peacefully and also work towards the achievement of the organizational goals. Studies have also shown that about 90% of top performers um, are high in emotional intelligence. It didn't even say they are high, their skill level is high, but technical skill level is high, but actually they are high in emotional intelligence. And studies have also found out that about 58% of every leader's performance is attributed to emotional intelligence, which is more than half of all that is needed to be able to perform as a leader. And so having this in mind, which means that previously we've placed much emphasis on technical skills, people developing a lot of their technical skills. But we've realized that it's not just technical skills that makes you succeed in the work environment or make you succeed in your field, but at the core of it is emotional intelligence. Just finally to add this before I pass it on, we've also found out that our personal and professional development, if we will be able to develop to the peak where we want to get to, about 60% of what will help us develop to that level is attributed to emotional intelligence. It's attributed, so that should tell us how important emotional intelligence is for our professional development. And it's not only in our professional field, it cuts across all aspects of our lives. So long as we are not island, we go to church, we go to the mosque, we come to the family, we meet people here, and then we interact with people. Emotional intelligence is very important for our development and our performance in every area of our life. So I think that is why it is important we are talking about it today.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hume. Miss Anbertha, can you briefly tell us why you think emotional intelligence is important in a modern workspace?
All right. I would add on briefly, as you mentioned, to what Dr. Homi has just said. So, emotional intelligence starts right from, let's say, when we even wake up. And it's all about we adapting to change. We are learning to adapt to circumstances around us, especially you knowing, starting from your own personal traits, what triggers, what excites you, what puts you off. And once you know that, it helps you also adjust to those around you. Let me just use a typical example of you on your way to work, and you're already late, and then you have this traffic ahead of you, and then if you drive, one bus driver just crosses you, and you forget yourself that on the other lane it could be your customer, and then you flare up and then you just pass on maybe an insult or so. How well do you manage yourself? How well do you manage situations around you to carry it on into your workplace? And Dr. Homi also mentioned that we work collectively, we work in teams. So once you are working with a group of people and they're all coming from different backgrounds, coming from different culture, and how well would you relate? I think in the intro, someone also mentioned that if you work in a multinational organization, it's also important to know what is acceptable in their background, and what is also acceptable where you find yourself. So having all of that in mind, you know how to manage what you experience and bringing it to your engineering sector. You know how to manage the technical team, how to manage the artisans, those you know that would understand things easily, those who you'd see that may not understand things just on the lighter point of view. So when issues escalate, you know how best to explain it to them so that um, incidents do not flare up. Okay, so I would just add that you learning to adapt to change by identifying yourself first, identifying your traits, and then identifying the traits or the type of people around you.
Thank you, Miss Anne. That was very insightful. We'll take the last one from Dr. Newman Arthur.
Okay, so just to add to what has been said, in terms of conflict resolution, I think one of the biggest things that ensures that any team works well is the ability to resolve conflicts. Because one conflict can actually mess up years of friendship and years of work, right? So emotional intelligence actually helps you to be able to manage conflict and resolve conflict in a way that preserves people's well-being, and also preserve relationships. Because sometimes in organizations, in terms of resolving conflicts, your goal may not be to be right, but to preserve the harmony and also the relationships that exist within teams. And without emotional intelligence, you can't do that. Great leaders have actually missed an opportunity to build a team by, in terms of not responding to conflicts the way they should. So that is one. Then the last one I'll add to whatever they've said is also it helps protect your mental well-being. If you're emotionally intelligent, your emotions and your responses to emotional situations are measured, they are appropriate, they are not dysfunctional. So you're able to actually, maximize your own mental well-being when you are emotionally intelligent. You're able to manage those emotions well, and that preserves your mental well-being significantly. And like I said, it would help you, that state will help you in terms of your performance. So those are the only two things I wanted to add to what they've said so far.
Thank you very much, Dr. Newman. So now we'll delve right into the main discussion. So the first question is, how does emotional intelligence influence workspace performance, especially in high pressure or fast-paced environments? How does emotional intelligence influence workplace performance, especially in high pressure or fast-paced environments? Dr. Newman, can you start with that for us?
Okay, so there are 6 things that actually happens when, in terms of the workplace and stuff, high pressured environment, that emotional intelligence will help you actually fix. Right. Let me mention them quickly. One of them is it will help you cope and adjust. Your ability to cope and adjust to situations as they come up. Day to day, many things come up. People may say things, responsibilities may come. Day-to-day activities that have been planned may not work out. Something that is not in purview may come up. Unplanned things. So your ability to be able to cope and adjust, right, it really helps. Then secondly, also help you form and maintain meaningful relationships, right? It would help influence your ability to form and maintain relationships amongst your team, even at the workplace. And that is necessary for performance, right? So team cohesion, things that happen in teams, resolution of conflicts, whatever. I think it will really influence that process. Then again, to help you also have solid perspective and also confidence in your ability to work with others and to perform, right? And it actually reflects on your sense of identity and capacity to be able to do things the way you should, right? Then I would also add that in terms of pursuing meaningful goals, so day-to-day agenda of the organization, your ability to navigate the complexities of relationships, sending memos here and there, responding to people's concerns, and all those things, right? In order to be able to help you achieve the day-to-day goals that has been set, that would really influence that. Then again, to ability to handle things as an independent person, right? Your level of independence to be able to handle the day-to-day responsibilities, that would also be influenced by your depth of emotional intelligence. And then the final thing I'll add is that it helps you able to live in a social space the way that is necessary and productive, right? One of the cardinal things about someone who is emotionally intelligent is the fact that his presence in any social space is positive. They're able to make meaningful impact and contribution to wherever they find themselves, all right? So these 6 things, I think that are very necessary when it comes to how emotional intelligence influences workplace performance. But let me add that emotional intelligence is developed from the womb. From the womb. The capacity to recognize, to manage, to handle, to label whatever your emotions and that of others, that capacity develops from the womb, right? And there are systems in the body that are responsible for our emotional responses. The nervous system, right? Your ability to navigate, the capacity to do that. There are portions of the brain responsible for, the limbic system, the prefrontal cortex, and all those areas. Helps you to be able to navigate emotional things. Even the memory of it, right? To be able to navigate, it starts from the womb. And that is very essential, right? Then again, so that is the biological capacity, in terms of the brain and how the brain functions, right? But in addition to that, there is a reason I'm mentioning this now, right? In addition to that, when you come out of the womb, the capacity to actually navigate your environment is determined by the influences from your environment, the information and experiences that you're exposed to from environment. So things like breastfeeding, when the mother interacts with the baby, emotional development starts from there, attachment starts from there. Playing, kids who are playing are developing that aspect of their intelligence, right? All the abuses and neglect and all the adverse childhood experiences actually influences a person's capacity to be emotionally intelligent. So you may find someone who physically developed well, but mentally, emotionally, they did not develop well. So the capacity to be emotionally, intelligent is not there. They did not develop that. So in a workplace, your capacity to be emotionally intelligent doesn't start now. It started from childhood. So some people may struggle to navigate the workplace environment because the capacity to do that, they don't have it, right? And so until they actually recognize the gaps in their own emotional growth and development, they will not be able to apply whatever we are saying, even in this meeting. So it starts all the way from childhood. And that capacity is built from childhood, right, into adulthood. And that would tell on the person's ability to navigate all these emotional things at the workplace. So I wanted to add that just to some foundation. Thank you very much.
Hello. Please, can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Yes, please. Sorry about that. Telecel is being telecel. Dr. Newman, please, are you done with your submission?
Yes, I'm done.
Hello.
Yes, I'm done. I'm done with my submission.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Hello. My name is Awon Seba Azantilo. It looks like our moderator is having issues with her network. Regarding the first question, let's hear from Miss Cesambeta for the second response, please.
All right, thank you, Awunseba. Doctor has already given the practical and, should I say, scientific response to it too, that emotional intelligence starts right from the womb. So someone would also be asking, what if I didn't experience all that emotional bonding when I was born? It doesn't mean I would not be able to carry emotional intelligence, or I would not be able to display it. But I also believe that it's something that you can learn and adapt to. It's something that's right from the onset. If you notice that this is how you respond to situations around you whilst you are growing up, when you're exposed to diverse environments, it helps you to also learn and also helps you to adjust to situations. So, if, for example, you find yourself, let's say, whilst you were growing up, you notice that when you have your steady mates easily bullying you or picking up on you, and then you burst out in tears. As you're growing up in your workspace, it's likely that you find yourself getting moody at the point of correction, or when you are supposed to work on an activity with your team, and then you have people giving you some form of responses that are not too pleasant for you. You are likely to just go off track because you did not get a favorable response right from the time that you were growing up. And it's helped you shy away from going to the public and expressing yourself freely. But you learn to develop that skill. And then you also create the ambience for yourself. Maybe you could just find one peer, and then you can start working on that that trait and then start working on it with them and let them give you feedback on how you respond to situations like that. Once you've been able to improve on that skill yourself, that is when you also become intentional about paying attention to those around you. There are some people that you may be working with that you'd realize that today you walk into the office and the person is sad, and then or the person is quiet. The person is usually a vibrant person, but today you go to the office, you realize the person is quiet, and you ask her questions and she keeps giving you straightforward answers. What's your reaction? Do you ignore, or you'd probe further and find out, are you okay? It's sometimes just a simple how are you when you walk into the space or you walk into the office, or you meet somebody and you realize the whole time you've been having a conversation with the person is lost in thoughts. That is when you would ask or find out what is going on with the person. And it's a challenge with that sometimes because everybody seems to be occupied or busy with their own issues. So you have to, for me, it's all about being intentional, okay, and then paying attention to what is happening around you and then learning to adjust to it. And then you can also respond to those around you and help them to also adjust to situations. If you are using our engineers, I'm sure you would have your very high moments, and that can influence communication. For example, if you are not able to communicate well when maybe there's an emergency, I'm sure some people may panic and then it may bring out some chaos. So if you found yourself in situations like that, you know that when there's an emergency, let's say even a fire alarm, you know how you're going to raise awareness, how to keep your people calm, how to keep yourself calm first, so that you do not escalate the emotions. It's all part of we being able to manage emotional intelligence in the workspace. All right, so that is my contribution to what Saboni said. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Anbeta. Thank you very much, Dr. Newman. All right. Thank you both for setting the tone for the foundation of emotional intelligence. Now we'll move into the leadership. Where emotional intelligence is tested the most. So the second question is, in what practical ways can leaders demonstrate emotional intelligence when giving feedback or addressing poor performance? Dr. Home, can you start off with this for us?
Okay, thank you, Abba. Thank you. I think to start off, I would say if you take the issue of performance, we realize that organizations have moved from performance appraisal to performance management. In that, we don't just set goals for you in the beginning of the year and come back at the end of the year, December, give you a form to fill just for you to assess yourself how you fared throughout the year. At the core of performance management is feedback, okay, or what we call the one-on-one session, having one-on-one sessions, giving feedback. That forms one of the core aspects of performance management system, which means that before the end of the year, beginning of the year, goals are set, and these goals are set together with the employee, the leader and the direct report together, agree on the goals of the direct report. And after some few weeks, few months, the leader gives feedback, okay, engages the direct report as to how their performance is faring upon their observation, and also in relation to the goals that have been set for them. So intermittently, some organizations do it every month, some people do it every 2 months. So that is the feedback system within the performance management. And the principle, one of the most important principles of feedback, giving and receiving feedback, is the fact that before any leader gives feedback, you should assess your current state and assess the direct report's current state. Okay, that means you should be able to identify and recognize, acknowledging the emotions that you are feeling at the moment when you want to give the feedback. How are you feeling at that moment? Are you just coming from the house where your wife annoyed you, and then you get to work very early in the morning, and you call your direct report, hey Kofi, come, let's have your feedback session. With that emotion that is running through you from the house, even sitting in the office, you've not overcome it, you've not done away with it, it's still running through you, and you go into the feedback session, it is likely to influence that. Or you've just come from a hot meeting where you've been perhaps chastised for certain actions of yours, and so you are not even in the right state of mind. Or you just heard that a relative has even passed on, and then you call a direct report to come in for a feedback session. It's likely going to influence the discussion that is going to go on. That is on your part, the leader's part. And so you need to assess the emotions that you are going through at any point in time when you want to give feedback to employees or your direct report. Away from that, one of the aspects of giving feedback which aligns with emotional intelligence is also identifying the state in which the direct report is, the mental state, which is very important, in which the direct report is, which aligns with relationship management when it comes to emotional intelligence. And so understanding what the direct report is going through, perhaps they've also just received a bad news, perhaps something is not going, they just finished dealing with a difficult customer, and it has affected them so much. They've not overcome it yet, and you are getting them into a feedback session. It wouldn't really help them a lot. And so emotional intelligence will help you understand the current state in which the direct report is when you are going to give feedback. And once you understand these emotions and you realize that everybody, both you and the direct report, you are in the right state of emotions, right state of mind, then you can have a very fruitful and very effective feedback session. Also, emotional intelligence will help you know what to say at what time. Okay. There are so many things in feedback. One of the principles that we operate with is that whatever feedback you give should be balanced. And so it helps you know what the positive things you would have to say about that direct report, at which point in the conversation you should introduce that positive performance, which will help that employee accept the negative feedback that perhaps you have also to give him or her. Sometimes the way we present positive and negative feedback, the manner in which we do it does not even facilitate the employee or the direct report accepting whatever we are giving on to them. And so emotional intelligence will help you understanding your direct report. For instance, you know that all your team members are not the same in terms of receiving information. Some prefer perhaps, oh, you tell them what they've done wrong before you give them the good news. Some might prefer receiving the positive news first before receiving the negative news. So knowing your team members will help you know which news to give them at which point and what not to say at any point in time. And so it helps you understand this. And I think the last thing that I want to add to it is also that feedback session is not just going to dump information on the direct report. Emotional intelligence will help you understand the fact that you also relate to that person in a way. And in Akan, there is a proverb that says, "The ultrasound onims energy achira." So you who is creating the path, you don't know how crooked the path is. The direct report might have some reservations about you. And so you will know that no feedback session should end without you requesting for a feedback from the direct report as to how you are managing him or her. And so it's before your feedback session ends, you get the opinion of your direct report as to how you've handled them, how you've managed them over the period under review, which you are assessing. And whatever feedback they give you, you also acknowledge the fact that perhaps you might be oblivious about it, and they are seeing it, and you are able to accept and work on it. And finally, I also want to add that it also makes you understand that you don't give feedback to all employees in open space. There are some employees who, when you give them feedback in front of other people, especially if it is negative, the tendency for them to resist is very high. And it is with almost all of us human beings. Nobody wants to be spoken negatively about in front of other people. So something that they would have taken positively, or they would have taken it in if you had told them in private. If you say it in front of other people, the tendency for them to resist is very high. As such, you know that with this information that I would have to pass to this employee, I don't need to say it when people are around, when other employees are around. Let me get the employee into a one-on-one meeting, and then I'll provide this feedback to the employee. So I think emotional intelligence really helps us become effective in giving feedback to our direct reports. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Home. I don't know about the other participants, but I'm learning a lot. I have about 3 full pages from the discussion so far. So now that we have discussed about leaders, would want to delve into how employees navigate difficult emotional climates. So our third question will be, how can employees maintain emotional intelligence when faced with passive aggressive behavior, workplace cliques, or environments that feel toxic or exclusionary? Dr. Arthur, since you mentioned conflict resolution in your introduction, you can take this up. How can employees maintain emotional intelligence when faced with passive-aggressive behavior, workplace cliques, or environments that feel toxic or exclusionary? Dr. Arthur.
Yes, hello. Can you hear
Yes,
me?
please. Yes, please, I can hear you.
Can you repeat a bit? There was some,
Okay. So
yes.
I was saying that, how can employees maintain emotional intelligence when faced with passive-aggressive behavior, workplace cliques, or environments that feel toxic or exclusionary?
Okay. So if you realize all the discussions around emotional intelligence starts with the person, not others. So the ability to recognize, label, manage your own emotions, right? And then you also do same for others and respond to them in order to navigate day-to-day activities and relationships. That is what it means. So what it means is that regardless of your environment, regardless of what you see in your environment or the behaviors of people and the things around, if you have good emotional intelligence, you realize that your responses to them may be appropriate, right? So it starts from there. So if you work in a very, very toxic environment, the first thing you need to ensure is that you yourself, you're doing well, such that there are no gaps in terms of your own development that would influence your behavior out there. Because a lot of people are very, very unproductive in the environment, or their behavior is inappropriate, or they struggle to live with other people. And the problem may not be the other people. The problem may be they themselves and how they're able to respond to things. So if there's someone who didn't grow well, they are overly sensitive, they are overly emotional, hyper vigilant, they have avoidant behavior, insecure attachments, whatever it is, the person may struggle to be able to dwell in that environment. So it starts from there. So you must be healthy, like it has been said, right? You need to start learning about these things so that you can be good for yourself, right? Most of the relationships, for example, that break apart, whether at work or romantic relationship or marital relationship or whatever it is, most of them break apart not because of the other person's actions, but your ability to be able to respond to whatever is happening. Because you may not be able to change the environment, but you may be able to change you as a person and how you respond to that environment. So it starts from there. And secondly, at some point, you would have to also acknowledge that people are different from you. Their perspective is different, their worldviews are different, and the approach to things are different than who you are as a person, right? And sometimes you need to learn to accept people for who they are and be able to navigate relationships in ways that is meaningful to them and also can impact your life in a very positive way. And that is a skill that you need to learn. For example, you serve under a certain boss who is very, very rowdy, talks to anybody anyhow, does things anyhow, doesn't respect anybody. What will you do? Will you, what do you call it? Will you resign from the work environment, or you're going to learn how to live with that person in a way that is meaningful for the workplace and for yourself, right? And so at some point, you need to acknowledge that people are different. You cannot influence them the way you think you can. And at some point, you need to learn how to live with them. Unfortunately, most of the time, we expect people to live with us the way we live with them, or we live with them based on who we are, not based on who they are. And that difference can actually create a lot of conflicts, even in that environment. Thirdly, every work environment should have policies and HR-related measures to deal with a toxic environment, to prevent it in the first place. And when it starts developing, it has to be crushed. So workers come to work, they may have less control over people's behaviors and how things are done, but there should be good enough HR systems and other systems to be able to make sure that the workplace is a safe and healthy environment for other people to come. So if you go to any workplace that is toxic, it's a sign of failed leadership, that whoever is in charge is not paying attention to whatever is happening around there, right? And so I think that in addition to the efforts that the individuals are putting in to be able to manage everything we've talked about, there should also be intentional systems and effort by management or whoever is in charge to make sure that the environment is not toxic and that people can actually come to work and work freely and go back, preserving their own mental well-being. So those are the three things that I would suggest.
Okay, thank you very, very, very much, Dr. Newman. We are all learning a lot. And like we mentioned earlier, at the end of this discussion, each and every one of us will do better as far as our emotions are concerned. Okay, in our industry, emotional intelligence is not only tied to just teamwork, but also to safety. So in this discussion, we would like to touch a bit on that as well. So our next question will be around that. How do you identify when a team member's emotional state is compromising their safety awareness? And what is an appropriate intervention that avoids stigma or defensiveness? Mrs. Anbetha, could you please do us the honor with this one? How do you identify when a team member's emotional state is compromising their safety awareness? And what is an appropriate intervention that avoids stigma or defensiveness?
All right. Okay. So let me even start relating it to, I'm not in the engineering sector, but let me just start with my sector. Okay. So typically, if you notice how your colleagues behave on a normal day, and you realize that the colleague comes to work and maybe the person is sleeping on the job, or you realize the person is talking too much than the usual, you'd want to peruse further and see if the person is okay or not. But I'm sure in your sector, you would have some safety policies that you go by. So probably if you have to go into the mines or you have to go behind a machine, maybe there are some safety checks that will be done. If it's an alcohol test, a drug test or so that is done before you sit behind the machine. I'm sure maybe something like that could be done. So when it is there, it's easy to identify if someone is not in the right state before you allow the person to go behind the machine or whatever task that you have for the person to do. If you don't have those policies in place, you would have to be observant. You would have to go by the observation method. So if you realize that the person doesn't look too well, if you have a clinic, you have a psychologist, you have any specialist on the ground, you may have to refer the person. And to make the person not feel how do I say, maybe not feel intimidated or feel like they are being attacked, you would try not to direct the situation on maybe the character. Okay. So focus on what's happened. So you may have to look at the situation that, so, okay, you walked in this morning and you look drowsy or you look a bit tipsy. Do you know the implications of that? If you go behind the machine, you are likely to move it in the wrong way. You are likely to hurt yourself. You are likely to let the person know the situations that may arise or the implications that may arise based on how the person is feeling or the situation in which he found himself whilst he came to work. And then when you let him know the consequences, you let him know the consequences, then you would try to correct it that if you know this is how you are feeling today, some people may take advantage, yes, but if genuinely the person is unwell, you would have to redirect the person or refer the person to the right authorities to assist the person. And some organizations have some employee assistance programs. So it could be that the person is running out of cash, or maybe the person is having some personal issues, family issues here and there. So your maybe your direct line would have to probe further to understand what is going on with the person. If before you maybe escalate the direct line and you are a peer and you identify this on your colleague, you would also want to take the initiative to speak to the person. And that is where your intelligence also will come in, that you are not going to undermine the person. Understand if it was you, put yourself in the person's position. So, like empathy. Okay, so if it was you, how would you expect your colleague to speak to you? If you don't expect that bad reaction or that downplay of authority and all, you know how to also react or talk to the person who finds himself in that situation, and let the person know that you are either there to help or you can provide assistance with the right authorities. But it's important for engineering sectors like this to have policies to ensure that anybody who is handling anything technical, especially, should be in the right frame of mind before they handle technical tasks. And if you find someone in a situation that the person can't handle that task, it's important to put the person off or reassign the task to someone else. And then you help the person, work with the person, do whatever challenge the person is going on. Give the person opportunities to reform, to change. If first, second, maybe third time, you realize that the person goes back to that same habit, that would influence um, productivity or would affect or injure someone or him or herself, you know that you may have to probably put some disciplinary measures in place so that that would not continue. And that would also advise others who find themselves in situations like that, that this is not good for the workplace. Okay, so I would add that to Dr. Newman's comment.
Okay, thank you very much, Mrs. Anbetha. Dr. Confidence, could you in 2 minutes give us a final remark on this question?
Okay, about I think let me just add a little. Even though I think we need to recruit better into our field, she has done a lot of. I think I want to give some three practical instances I came across. Okay, that supports the points that Betha has mentioned. I went to a site. It was a mining site. In our field, alcohol and the work doesn't go together. So, for instance, in my space here, if you test positive on alcohol while at work, it's a straight dismissal. You are going home straight. Okay. So, one time this employee came to work somewhere mid morning. The manager, as I engaged the manager said he realized this guy's mood is not the same just as he knows the person to be. There's something that is different about him, getting a bit reserved, and so he was a bit suspicious. And then he called this employee in, and in the engagement, alcohol, if it is in your system, sometimes you can smell it a bit. Then while engaging him, he could sense that, and then he did an alcohol test. The guy tested positive. So he engaged him and said, drinking alcohol and working doesn't go together. And in case you have alcohol in your system, which it's better to tell me and ask for permission, stay home until the alcohol leaves your system before you come to work. But once you've come to work and you've been tested positive, and you know what the consequence is, and he asked the employee what's the consequence, and he mentioned dismissal. He told him now he's tested positive and there is nothing he can do than to ask him to go home. He wasn't happy, he was sad, but he appreciated what the manager did. And there was a second instance which happened at a different site. This employee came to work, was working throughout the day, and HSE officers went to the site. When they went there, they did random alcohol test, and this employee tested positive. The manager didn't know. The manager had not noticed anything different. And so the manager didn't do the test to know what was actually wrong. You see, there are two same instances happening at different places. However, one's vigilance, because the other one knows his team members so well, has interacted with them a lot, knows how they behave and how their actions are. He was able to tell at which point one's behavior was different. And after engagement, was able to know what actually was wrong. And even when he was caught positive on the alcohol test, he was actually, how he engaged him was also very reasonable and very good, as against other managers who would test employees and they are positive on alcohol. Some of the things they do with the already the person is going home, not going to get anything, is affecting the person financially, and you turn it that way, the person is hurt by it, and it affects the person even as they are going home. And so how you engage that individual, it starts off with, just as Betha said, you knowing the individual. If you know your colleague, if you know your direct reports, then when something is wrong, you are able to notice it so it doesn't affect them and everyone around the workplace. And so it all starts from, do you know your colleague? Do you know your direct report beyond just their normal working duties? Do you know it when their moods have changed, when their demeanor have changed? Once you know that, you can address some of these safety issues that perhaps might put them at risk. And if it has got nothing to do with emotions, and it's just with their line of duty over speeding and all the others that they might be involved in, I think the most important thing, which Betha mentioned, is how do you engage them? The engagement process is very important. And so do not throw it at their face, making them feel so bad. Engage them, help them understand the consequence of whatever actions they are taking. the effects that will happen, not just on them, on their families, the people who work around them, and ultimately the business at large. And so the engagement process should be well thought of. Sometimes you might just hold on saying some things because of the of however you perceive the person to be feeling at that particular moment, and deliver the information later on. And so let's be circumspect about the engagement, carry the people along into coming into understanding as to how risky whatever endeavor they are engaging in is to them, the environment, and the organization as a whole.
Thank you very much, Dr. Home. So as we gradually get to the end of our discussion, for me, now I know that when emotional intelligence is mentioned, it starts from myself. I need to recognize my own emotions, understand my own emotions, understand what triggers them, and then I can manage them and know how others affect me. So we would go to the chat box to pick up some few questions and then come to the end of our discussion. The first is from Stephen Deborah. He's asking that, is resignation an emotional intelligence option in work climates where all managers seem to be authoritative and abusive, or there could be an alternative approach? Dr. Newman, could you help us with this? Is resignation an emotional intelligence option in work climates where all managers seem to be authoritative and abusive, or there could be an alternative option?
Yeah, well, I think that there may be more factors that may influence your resignation, right? If you have other options, you can just move. Because sometimes you just can't change the environment, and having to deal with people every day can actually have a toll on you. So it may be one of the smart moves to do when there's a better opportunity to move, right? Because it's kind of very, very difficult to be emotionally okay, regardless of how emotionally intelligent you are, right? In a very, very toxic environment, right? Secondly, I would say that every witch has a favorite, or every wizard has a favorite. The armed robbers who have families they protect. What it means is that for every difficult boss, if you learn how to live with that boss, you realize that that boss may not be as toxic as you think. Because sometimes what the bosses see may not be what we see. What they insist is for the best of it's in the best interest of the organization, right? How they do it may not be okay, but sometimes the same boss you find as toxic is someone else's friend. What happened? The other person learned how to live with that boss in a way that is meaningful. Because every difficult person has a soft side. And sometimes if you're a worker, you work under someone who is a bit more difficult. You just have to find out what they love and do it for them. If it's legal and it will not compromise your own standards and your integrity and stuff. But every boss has interest in what they want. Unfortunately, some employees actually, the problem may be coming from the employee. Maybe they are a bit indisciplined, they are not hardworking, they are not this and that and that. So they may find the insistence of the boss as toxic. But sometimes learning how to live with the boss is the way forward.
Thank you very much. So learn how to live with the boss. He might not be as toxic as he seems. The second and last question is from Akoto, and it reads, can we say that since emotional intelligence is developed first in the womb and later we also contribute to it, people who are quick-tempered and have impulsive behavior primarily got it from either genetics or even childhood trauma?
Yeah, hello, sir.
Hello, Dr. Newman. Dr. Confidence,
Yes.
Could you please take this on? I'll read the question again.
Okay.
It says that can we say that since emotional intelligence is developed first in the womb and later we also contribute to it, people who are quick-tempered and have impulsive behavior primarily got it either from genetics or even childhood trauma?
Okay. All right. Thank you. I think before I touch on this, just a little on what Dr. Newman also mentioned. One of the things that the current generation we find it difficult to do is managing upwards. Okay, managing upwards is basically managing the relationship you have with whoever is above you. We feel we know what is right and that the leader is supposed to play to our tune. When it's rather supposed to be the other way around. He carries the vision, he carries the department. And so what he wants done, so long as it's legal, is what we do. And so he might have excesses, same as you also have excesses. So we should learn to manage upwards. The new company that you want to go to, you want to resign. If you resign and you go to the new company, what is the assurance that when you go there, the managers over there will also not be authoritative and fitting the same description as your previous manager? If it happens that is the same in that environment, would you also resign? So how long would you be resigning? How long would you be resigning? And so it's important for us to manage those who are above us. And that is the second aspect of emotional intelligence. Once you move from the self, the second aspect is others. So learning, knowing the emotions of other people when those emotions are happening and its behavioral consequence and managing your relationship with them. And so you can be, if you've finished developing the self, now it's on to others. That is another aspect that you also need to develop. That is your relationship with others and also managing how their emotions also affect you as a person, which is very important. Now, on to the second question. It's more like saying, is it caused by those impulsive behaviors? Is it either nature or nurture? Is it biological or it is environmental? Since there could be genetic traces of people's personalities. That one, it's been found. Some personalities are developed from birth. However, what we need to note is that emotional intelligence is a skill that we can also learn. There could be those biological basis of certain behaviors, let's say impulsive behaviors, which you could see your mother is same, your dad is same, all your siblings are same, your dad's father is the same. And so you could see that behavior runs through the family, or perhaps as a result of something you experienced in your childhood trauma. That doesn't mean that that behavior is justified and for you to continue to exhibit that behavior. It's a skill for a reason that you can be able to unlearn that behavior. You can be able to learn a different skill that will overcome this behavior. So first of all, acknowledging that you have an impulsive behavior is very important, irrespective of what is causing it, knowing that you have that impulsive behavior. Now, acknowledging the fact that something can be done about it and that you are ready to change from that particular behavior. It's the second thing. So once this is set, you can be able to acquire any skill that will help you overcome this particular behavior. Okay.
All right, thank you, Dr. Confidence. The last question is from me. Miss Anbeta, would you help me with that? How would you deal with a boss that likes to micromanage?
Okay, thank you for this question. You just reminded me to my Monday team meeting with my boss, and she had mentioned this. If we delegate and you are not able to perform, definitely you would get the micromanaging. Okay. But if a task is given and you are able to perform it properly, you are able to give the results that is required, you would not be micromanaged. So if you don't have the clarity of the task that you have been given, it's your duty to get or find out from your line manager or your direct report what exactly he or she wants you to do. And if all that has been clearly spelled out, then it's now your responsibility to make sure that you do the right thing. If consistently you've been tasked to do something and you are not able to perform it well, over the period, that trust would not be there. And you are likely to have your line manager micromanaging you every time that the task is given to you. But once you are sure that you can do it and perform it to the utmost best, you give the results that are desired. I'm sure you would not be micromanaged.
Okay. Thank you very much. Awonsiba
Yeah.
has his hand up.
Okay.
Please, you can speak up.
Okay. So my question is, who in an organization, who determines someone as emotionally intelligent, and if another person is not emotionally intelligent in an organization?
So let me try responding to this. I believe this would fall deeply on the HR department. If you have an organizational psychologist in your organization too, that also helps. But having trainings, having webinars like this, frequently engaging your team members to help them identify their traits also helps in identifying how emotionally intelligent each team member is. So there are times that some people may not genuinely know that this is or these are the traits that they are exhibiting. But in team discussions, in webinars like this, I know there are some testing apps or test forms that you can easily fill that helps you discover your traits. You can have things like that. And then the individual himself will know that this is how I am. Okay, these are the things that trigger anger. These are the things that I should overlook. So if this is happening, I know that I should ignore, or this is the point that I will walk away, or I wouldn't interact or find myself in situations that would lead to unhealthy arguments. So I strongly believe it lies more on the HR department. If you have the psychologist, and then all of us, we all have um, our individual responsibilities to play there to identify each and everyone's traits. First, you identify it yourself, and then when you're having team meetings, team bondings, team engagements, you see there are some people who are always reserved. They would not want to participate in anything. This is someone you can clearly see as an introvert. So he shouldn't be someone that you should be looking out to be always having discussions with you or having conversations with you. Then you'd have the extrovert who would respond to anything, just a little bit of music, and you find them dancing to it in the midst of pressure. You are behind schedule and you're trying to get things done, and there's music, and you see the person dancing. And then you have the other one who will be flaring up like, "Why are you dancing at this time of the day? Do you realize we have timelines to meet?" Okay, so maybe she is dancing to ease the pressure, and you have decided to take up anger or take up that cold attitude to manage yours. So you find a fair balance in there, and then you learn from that person to this is how the person responds to situations that require you to calm down. And when you calm down, you're able to think clearly, and you're able to perform better in your functions.
Okay, we will take the last question for today's discussion. And please, while we read out the last question, there's a feedback form in the chat box. Kindly fill the form. Let us know your feedback on today's discussion, how it went, what we can do in our next ones. Anything you'd want to add, please fill the form. So the last question is from Ismaila. I hope I got the name right. Ismaila Saba. And it says, we live in a society of hierarchy of leaders and everyone reports to someone. How best can you be emotionally stable practically when you have reported a problem to your superior and he has also forwarded it to a higher authority, but nothing has been done about it? And the third problem is the draining. Dr. Confidence, please, would you help us with this? I'll read the question again. We
Okay.
live in a society of hierarchy of leaders and everyone reports to someone. How best can you be emotionally stable practically when you have reported a problem to your superior and he has also forwarded it to a higher authority, but nothing has been done about it? And the third problem is the training.
Okay.
Kindly fill the feedback survey form. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Abba. Again, I think I like to talk plenty, but what Betha said, I think that tells me that it is, and I'm sure Dr. Newman will agree with me that it is the reason why every organization needs an organizational psychologist. Yes, and so we need to take note. If we have the opportunity to employ one, let's employ one, which will really help and in handling issues like that. Okay, so it's very important. But on the issue that you mentioned, I think it is important for the question that is on the floor. It's important for us to note that we are not in control over every situation. There are some situations which are under our control, which we can do things about. Those ones we go about them, we do whatever we need to do about it. But there are other things which there is nothing that we can do than to report. Just like in the question you've mentioned, you've reported it to your direct line. He has also escalated it, but nothing is being done. What will you do? There is nothing that you can do about it than to admit the fact that you are not in control over it, and so it has to stay as it is. In also, I think in staying calm about it, you just have to be following up on the issue. If you get the opportunity to follow up, follow up. But for your own sanity's sake, just like Dr. Newman mentioned, for your own sanity's sake, you just need to know that it is out of your hands and there is nothing that practically you can do about. If there are other ways you can go about solving that problem, propose those other ways and solve that problem. Other than that, you just have to keep on following, and you do what you have to do in the absence of whatever issue that you've escalated. If you were more specific, then we could have seen how best we'll go around that. But in general sense, I think that would be it.
Can I add on to it, please?
Yes, please, you can.
Okay, so if you've adding to what Dr. Homie said, okay, if you've escalated and there are things that you just can't do anything further about it. I know in big or larger organizations, like in the engineering sectors, you may have unions. So you could also refer the issue to the union so that they can also step in and then know how they can assist. But if it's beyond you, for your mental health sake, if you know that it's affecting you directly, it may be time for you to exit. If you've told your direct reports, the report has also escalated it, and it's affecting you directly. If it's not affecting you directly and you can avoid, I think sometimes you avoiding the situation or avoiding the people that are influencing those actions, and you are good to go or you are able to perform what you need to do, it's not affecting your productivity, I think you should learn to manage the emotions, manage the situation. But if it's affecting you directly, then you know that you would have to go if the unions cannot help, and it's something that you also cannot cope with anymore for your mental health sake. You may have to find your way out. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs.
Let me just
Anbeta
add one.
Ajati.
Let me just add
Yes,
one. Haven't you
yes,
realized
please,
that
yes.
the day you let's say Momo hits your account and everything looks fine, things around you, they are not as annoying as when you are hungry or when you are not happy. So most of the time it's because we ourselves are not doing well, right? If you are doing well, you do well, right? So regardless of your environment, it is possible to still have some stable emotional state if you know how to manage your own emotions, and you are fine. You get involved in self-care things, right? You are doing well yourself. You're able to what do you call it? Positive mindset, exercise, nutrition, whatever that maximizes your mental well-being, right? So you put yourself in a certain state so that external things do not significantly affect you. Because if you are doing well, you will do well. Because really, almost every environment you go to work, it's challenging, right? It means that almost every now and then you would have to leave somewhere to go somewhere, right? But sometimes managing your own life, your own emotions, making sure that self-care things work well and stuff, it will put you in a certain shape that external things do not significantly affect you.
Okay. Dr. Newman says if you are doing well, you will do well. So let's make it a point to put our emotions first. Manage your emotions first. Learn how to navigate through it. Then you do well. So we have a few announcements. Since this is an SPE program, we are encouraging us all to renew our membership. That is, if you're already a member, the membership lasts from January to December, and then the payment is due December 31st. Also, kindly note that the recorded session will be available on the SPE Ghana YouTube channel. Sorry. Yes. So please renew your membership and join if you haven't joined the SPE International Group. You can log on to the SPE website and then follow the prompts to get your membership either renewed or to start the new membership. We also have an upcoming event, the SPE end of year networking event, that is the health walk and exercise. Dr. Newman mentioned that taking care of yourself, he mentioned exercise, and we have one here for you. So do well to participate. That is, if you find yourself in Accra, it's happening this weekend at 7 a.m. Let's come in our numbers and exercise and stay fit for the new year. We also have the Ghana Biennial International Summit and Exhibition coming up next year from 20th to 22nd May in Accra. Let's all book it in our calendars and make preparations towards that. Thank you all for joining. We would call on our SPE Young Professionals Committee Panel Discussion Co-Lead, Richard Jemfi to give us the vote of thanks. Richard, over to you.
All right, thank you, Abba. And this has been such an enlightening and educative session. I've really learned a lot on emotional intelligence and how we can apply it in the workplace. So I would like to thank our seasoned panelists for taking time to join us on this discussion to share their insights on how we can develop critical skills concerning emotional intelligence. And also to our audience, thank you very much for taking time off your busy schedule to join us in this panel discussion. Even though it has been long, we thank you for staying till the end. Thank you all. Over to you, Abba.
All right. Thank you, our co-lead. Once again, thank you